As always, if you guys are interested in signing up to SoRare, there is a referral link down below. You get yourself a free tradable limited card after winning 5 cards on the bidding market. Please don't overpay on these cards you do bid on. The free card you're going to get is only going to be worth about £2 to £7. So yeah, don't overpay on the bidding cards. When you get it, you get it. On top of that, you do have to be 18 to play SoRare because it is real life money. And that real life money is there to be lost as well as it is here to be made. And finally, if you guys would like to watch me stream this live, I do stream this live from 6:30 every single day where I do trading and investing. So this week we're obviously in international break. I think England's playing the mighty, Australia, followed by Ivory Coast or something along the lines of that. So obviously the domestic leagues aren't running, no Prem, no Serie A, no La Liga, no Bundesliga. So the only weeks that the only competitions we have to invest in are All-Star, which is pretty vague and I don't really like, Under 23, America, and Asia. And what makes this even more interesting is that, so they've lowered the prizes, but the amount of players that you can actually use in these tournaments, there is only 181 eligible players, including all these DMP players, to be used in the America tournament. But even crazier, in the Asia tournament this week, there are only 56 players that are eligible in the tournament. Now, obviously, as a result, they've taken a massive hit on the rewards, because obviously if there's way less players that can be used, they're not going to go and give a 400 rewards. So Asia actually only gives out 35 rewards. What I think might be a little bit more interesting is America, because America, hell yeah, brother, gives off 100 rewards. Yeah, it's got about 5 times the amount, but I think that probably looks a little bit more interesting. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be selecting multiple Asian and American eligible players to go and use for the SO5. What we're doing is just going all positions, so on via L5, because that's how the caveman SO5 builder builds their team. They just look at who's been good recently, and then we go and find something that looks nice and cheap, around about the 20 quid mark. So let's see if we can find anything for an example right here. Maybe this guy right here. He's only played 60% of the games. Kim Ki-hee, SO5 scores, DMP'd the last game. But yeah, so what we do is we make sure they haven't DMP'd the last game. They've had a good L5 and make sure that they aren't already inflated. Questions we come to is that, so I'm just looking at Asian League defenders. And I'll start off by looking at goalkeepers. And it is crazy, because if we go look at goalkeepers, there are literally a selection of 4 starting keepers. But obviously they're too expensive. So I then went underway with defenders, and I did a little bit of research. So, let's go through them then. This guy DMP, this guy DMP, this guy DMP, this guy DMP, this guy DMPs, this guy basically doesn't exist. Then you got these two, then you got this guy DMPs, this guy DMP'd the last game, this guy doesn't exist, and then you've got £100, £86, £51, £245, £405, which literally leaves you with, you can either use Grant for a tenner, or Shin Kwang-hoon for £2.90. Because these guys didn't DMP the last game. I believe they have do they have 100% in the last 5? They both have 100% in the last 5. So the first thing is, these are basically the only Asian defenders you can go with, unless you want to go and fork out 50 quid or chance someone that DMP'd last game. So the first investments are going to be Shin Kwang-hoon coming in at a crazy £3 and Grant coming in at a tenner. These players are up slightly. There's no other reason to buy these guys other than probably just looking into this week. But yeah, we can see, obviously, they had the supply or last week. Then we're down at £9. He's only up from £9 to about £10.50, so it's nothing crazy. And potentially someone I could quite easily get trade offers on. Covering the Asian League midfielders, I've gone for 2 players. Again, the pool's a little bit bigger. I think the pool is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Euro for international games, 6, 7... 8, 9, 10. Did he play the last 2 games? I think he did, yeah. 10, 11. And then we go down here to about 12. So 12 in comparison to, what was the last one, like 5 or 6? Not many players expensive here, only like 1. Yeah, only 1 of the 12 players is that expensive. So, the player we're going to be starting off with is actually quite an expensive player. He's £30. Now, the reason I quite like this player is because he's the highest performing Asian midfielder. But also, if we go look at every player available for this Asia, he actually ranks in at the... Where does he come in at? He actually ranks in at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best player you can buy. So the best midfielder, the 7th best player altogether. I do quite like him. Now, the thing that worries me about him is the infrequency of how infrequently he's purchased. Like we see right here is that, yeah, I mean, for some reason he's not being supplied in the scouting season, which again, unless I'm missing something in terms of research, I'm not too sure about. But yeah, his infrequency in how often he's purchased is a little bit worrying. But yeah, obviously he went down here at 23. I'd have to get a decent deal on him as well. Definitely wouldn't be paying anything near 30, but quite like him because he's the highest performing midfielder, and again, he's one of the highest performing players available to buy. Likewise, I've also found quite a cheap player. Again, these cheap players might do pretty well. As I say, he's only got a 40%, but he did fill in for the last 2 games. His purchasing again is a little bit infrequent off the back of the supply, but there we go. We'll see if we can get it for like £2, maybe £2.20, because these cheap ones I don't think we've got too much to worry about. Now we're going to move underway of Asian attackers. Maybe they don't have a license to them or something. But yeah, picking this guy up hopefully around about £4. I'll hopefully get a good deal off one of these guys, and they'll give them to me maybe for a £5 or so on. But again, another 2 cheap cards with the Asian League. I mean, that's going to wrap it up. I mean, the overall Asian League investment is looking at, just go off of average price, but £5, that brings us up to about £9, that brings us up to about £40, that brings us up to about 42, 44, and there you go. Around about about £54 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Asian League investments. Now what we're going to do is check out a league that I don't really get amongst too much, is the American League, because again, they've only got a pool of 181 players, so hopefully we'll be able to get some deals around about this and, be able to plunge our £100 in. Scouting, we've got our MLS investments. So we're going to start off here with a defender, and this is Jeffrey Cameron. Jeffrey Cameron is coming off the back of a 65, which is pretty decent. Yeah, not looking, price-wise, not looking too bad. He's good value for money in terms of a high L5. Should be quite obtainable for about a £5, I'd say. So yeah, not bad. There's our first one, our defender. We actually have 1 for each position. We then get a Ray Walter. Ray Walter is coming off the back of, I think he's just got a decent, yeah, he's got a decent L5. So, yeah, he's putting in a 54. If we look at some of the rises going into the Wednesday, yeah, they're looking really good. Here's your first rise going into the Wednesday. Decent. Second rise going into the Wednesday. Decent. Third rise going into the Wednesday. Decent. Fourth rise, he's already starting to rise, so I need to catch him before he does go too much. But again, some decent rises going into the Wednesday and a decent L5. We finally get to the last guy, which is Yuka Kubo. And again, we look at his score, and he's just coming off the back of a 63. We look at his price graph. Now, I'll be honest with you, he doesn't have a very favourable price graph going into the week, if I'm not wrong. Actually, no, I think he would have been pretty decent there, actually. Yeah, so he would have gone into Friday, actually. He rose from here to here going into a SO5, which is decent. Again, this would have been the supply, so he rose quite well there going into another SO5. Resupply there. And he's risen quite well for the last SO5. And obviously he's up at the moment because he's on a decent score. So obviously I'm buying quite inflated. But we are going to sell before the SO5, so it should be good. So another 3 investments. It's going to take me just over £100 unless I can get some decent snipes and get them at 100. So if I go and favourite them right here, you'll be able to see now. That's what I do. I favourite all the cards and then go to my watch list, and boom, if by magic, we've got all the players. I've got a few from last week that I need to take off. But here are all the cards, and basically what I do is I see, this is the price they're going from the market. This is the price they've been going on the last 3 days. So if the lower price is lower than the higher price, it means they're probably a good buy because they're cheaper than they've been averaging for the last few days, which isn't popping up too much. But what you do is just send over some trade offers. But there we go. So these are the cards we're planning to go and invest. Again, make sure the Asian League and the MLS. You have to remember as well, people will use these cards for All-Star just because the international break is a bit awkward. So people will just play it safe with some of the domestic leagues. Because, the international rotation is pretty insane with some of the teams. I looked at some of the international players. Let's go with Canada. I think I had Orison and Kay Miller, who is a centre-back and a centre-mid / winger for Canada. But again, I just don't think they're consistent. So I think that's going to call it an episode for the investing. Again, the investment will probably be about 110 quid for myself. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. It'll be interesting to see which players we can actually get for a deal, because I won't necessarily buy all of them. I'll just buy the ones I can get for a price I'm happy with. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed, I guess, our weekly SO5 investments that I'll be making. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow with another video.